It's Wednesday, November 20th, 2019. Digital Trends Live is about to start. Here are some of the topics we're covering. A week after the launch of Disney Plus, we're learning more about what caused the big crash of the streaming app. Plus, hackers are selling usernames and passwords all over the internet. And speaking of digital security, we'll be joined by the CEO of Keeper Security to discuss the ways they are helping organizations and individuals keep their passwords safe from cyber theft. We'll also cover the latest in strange robots with Cassie Cal, the juggling headless ostrich from Berkeley's hybrid robotics program. And I'm not just stringing random words together, that is real. And it's Women's Entrepreneurship Day, and we'll be joined by the CEO of Girl Scouts of the USA, Sylvia Acevedo, a former rocket scientist for NASA. We'll be discussing the findings of the Today's Girls, Tomorrow's Entrepreneurship program for today. It's all going to be here live on Digital Trends. There is so much to talk about. Sometimes, as I say, I get so excited, it's hard to get it all out at once. But there is a lot to cover, and we are live. In case you didn't know, this is Digital Trends Live here every weekday, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, bringing you tech headlines, news, interviews, discussions, and more, all while broadcasting live across a number of different platforms. And we're here in our Samsung QLED 4K studio, and we're live on Periscope, Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Dailymotion, Apple News, 2 different mobile apps, a smart television app, and at digitaltrends.com/live. So wherever you're finding us, you can join in the conversations that we get to have, and there are a lot of conversations we're going to be having today about technology. To start it off, though, I'm Greg Nibbler, joined by Luke Larson. Hello, Luke.
Good morning.
Good morning. So much to talk about today.
Yep. Happy to be here.
Excellent. Well, let's go ahead and get it started. Let's talk about this. A few different trending stories that we want to get to here at the top of the show. And the first one has to do with Disney Plus. It's been a little over a week since the streaming service launched. And if you remember that, didn't roll out so smooth, and it still is having some issues, and there's a couple of things that have come out now. One of the Disney executives is talking about what caused the crash. Now, originally they said it was because the demand was just so high they didn't expect it. Turns out, no, it was a coding error. They had some coding errors in it, which could be one of the things that happens when you don't let anybody download the app until the day it actually launches live.
Yeah, and just don't give yourself any grace period there.
Yeah.
It's just like...
It's a bold move. It's a bold move to just go ahead and do that and go live like that. But that is what they did. So that's part of the issue. What they're talking about, there's a coding issue. They're going to have to recode it. So if you're still seeing issues, which a lot of people are, that is something that that's might be happening for a little while. There's also a couple other things coming up where they don't have a continue watching feature, which I noticed that myself.
Yeah.
Watched part of The Mandalorian, came back to it. I'm like, no. Starting over. Yeah. Yeah,
you have to fast forward.
Right? And it's one of those things where we're thinking about it. If there was some beta testing, you would think that would be just a real quick one that people would figure out.
Just take whatever Netflix has and just literally copy it over.
Copy everything Netflix does. They've got it down, and get that on there. But that is what we're looking at with that. Now, the other part of it is this. There was some mass hacking going on with Disney Plus accounts, and yours could have been one of them. So hackers stole a large number of usernames and passwords, and then were selling them online for $3 a piece. There's a couple of things that are, one, that's terrible that things are getting hacked. Nobody wants that happening. But also the fact that it's selling for it's $7 already, and it's a free week trial, but they're selling them for $3 a pop, and people are still buying them. You're like, you're that...
cheaper than I thought they would be.
Cheaper than you thought, right? $3 a pop is what they're selling for, and people are buying them because they don't want to pay the $7 or nothing for a free week. They'd rather buy the $3 password online.
Yeah, because there's a lot of bundles where you get it for free or the free trial. Or,
you get a free trial for a week, I think, just to start off.
Yeah.
So you could watch quite a bit just with that. But yeah, selling them online for $3 a pop. How do you feel about yourself when you're buying a stolen password for $3? It's $6.99
I like how
a month.
you're not so worried about the hackers. You're worried about the people buying the password.
I'm shaming the people buying.
People.
Yeah, the hackers. That's easy. We all don't like them. But I'm shaming the people that are paying the $3 for the stolen username and password. Just sign up for a free trial. Come on, you can do it. But anyway, that's one of the things that's coming out.
I wonder if this is also an issue with the service itself because they don't have a two-factor authentication like you would have on a lot of apps and services have that these days. And that's just another thing. It's a new thing. They don't know exactly what they should include or not include. So, yeah, that seems like an easy way to avoid a lot of stuff getting hacked.
Right.
So.
Yeah, but that's where we're at right now. So that's with Disney Plus. I mean, the service is out, and it's streaming, and they're fixing some of these issues. But it's still interesting seeing, even a week later, where we're at with that and what's going on with some of the issues that they've been having. We can read more about both of those stories at digitaltrends.com. Continuing on with some other trending stories. This one's interesting. Comes from Uber. And it's Uber's continuing efforts to increase security when you're on your ride. And they've released a number of different things. There's the ability to call 911 through your app. There's also the ability to report drivers even when you get in. But there's a test they've been running in Latin America that is now going to be coming to the U.S. and has to do with recording audio of rides. And this is something they're going to be bringing. Now, the way it works right now is that essentially the driver would be able to record and the passenger would be able to record. But how this is implemented is one of the big things that people don't really know. So Uber said in the upcoming pilot that drivers would set the feature to automatically record all trips, but for the riders to record, they have to activate the feature through the safety toolkit. So there's two different options there. However, when it comes to recording rides, there's a lot of legal issues with that.
All sorts of legal issues.
Yeah.
And it varies state by state.
Yep.
There are some states where you need both people to consent to an audio recording. Some states it's just one side,
Right.
So that's a huge mess.
I am not a big fan of being recorded without somebody telling me when I'm in an Uber ride. I mean, let's be honest. When you're in the back of an Uber, maybe it's because you're not supposed to be driving that you're taking one of these. That's a good reason to do that. Maybe I don't want an audio recording of whatever's going on. That's something that I find a little bit troubling because the other issue is that once it's recorded, where is it stored?
Yeah.
What kind of security do they have?
They say it's encrypted and stuff, but
Right.
like it's always for safety purposes, and that's how it always starts.
Right.
There's inevitably there'll be some kind of problem.
Right.
And that's just how it always is with these, and that's why it's really
these benevolent reasons that it's for safety, and safety is important. I'm not making light of the safety concern to where this could be something that could actually help out. If something does happen and you need a recording of what went on. I'm just saying if you're going to implement it, man, it's a real dicey way to go about it.
It really is, and I just don't think anybody I'm sure the drivers don't want this. I'm sure most people think this is weird and not something they want to do.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Another thing that was brought up actually in dealing with the consent of who's recording is, generally, not generally, but a lot of times, you're taking an Uber with multiple people. So who is consenting out
That's
of
true.
everybody there? So if the one who called the ride, they're consenting, but do they have to get the consent of all of their other passengers?
Yep.
And that's where there's a lot of legal potholes when it comes to this, of how they're going to roll this out. I want to know what people think. How do you feel about this? Like, say it's an automatic recording that you just assume that you're going to be recorded. I guess if that's great. But if it's an optional thing and you don't know you're being recorded, I mean, to me, that's kind of a concern.
Yeah, I don't think this is not gonna make it.
You don't think so?
I don't think so. There's too many legal issues and just like perception around this. It's just like, I don't think this is gonna go through in the U.S. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're bringing it. They're planning to test it. They're going to be testing it in the U.S.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's that state by state thing, which is a huge issue.
Yeah. So I'm sure they'll probably like work that out and start in a state where it's a little more like easy for them to
Lax
start.
on recording people. Yeah. Well, that is something that they're going to be bringing. So let us know what you think about that. Again, that's Uber testing out recording the audio of your rides, and you would be able to do it too. Record the driver, and I guess I could be speaking to drivers or passengers. I'm speaking from the passenger side of things, but either way. That's what could go on. I think you just have to have giant signs. I mean, if you're going to record everything, just make it a thing. Like, if you're getting in here, you are being recorded, and that's just it. And everybody knows.
And that's what they do in like a taxi, right? I mean,
do they record?
They have they have some
okay,
stuff
the
like
videos.
that.
Yeah, that's true.
So
yeah,
we're just turning these into taxi cabs.
They really are. Yeah, right. Well, that's where we're at with Uber. So check that out at digitaltrends.com. Continuing on with some trending stories in tech, we have Apple in the news for a number of reasons. We're going to focus on one of them right now, and it's with Apple Music, but a specific type of Apple Music. It's Apple Music for business. Apple is going into the Muzak business, if you will. And it's something that they've rolled out. It's a partnership with Play Network where businesses can sign up for Apple Music for Business plans, and then they get licensed music to be played in their retail locations. It's actually human-curated playlists. So unlike, I guess I suppose I don't really know how it all works in like grocery stores or something like that. If those are curated, that would be kind of odd to me. But
I think they're
that's more of an
probably
algorithm.
curated on a very large scale.
Right, yeah, the mass amount of it. But this would be curated specifically to your location based on things that you input about your business, what kind of business you have, and that way they would update it constantly.
Yeah, and I imagine Apple's hiring all these like branding representatives who are gonna work with Starbucks and like, you know, they got the holiday mix and the, you know, it's
gonna show up at the store to get the feel of it. You know what this feels? This feels like a Moby location, like something I don't know what it's gonna be, but I wouldn't go there. But that's what we're talking about though with Apple Music for Business, and it's just kind of furthering their plans to spread their music service to other places. I think it's a pretty smart idea.
It's a really smart idea for Apple. I
Yeah.
think it's going to be a huge moneymaker, I think, and it's just like the idea of their service all like everywhere you go, just playing all the time in the background.
Yeah. So that's what they're looking at right now, and they're going to be doing it in Harrods in New York. I'm probably saying that wrong. I always mess that up. Is it Harrods or Harrods?
Oh, I can't help
Well,
you.
you're just gonna have to bust us on it. So bust us on it, wherever you're watching. We're being called out here. But that's one of the places they're going to be testing it out first. But then I'm sure they're going to see a lot of other businesses picking this up too. We can read more about that at digitaltrends.com. All right. Final thing we want to get to here in our top of the news, and then we're going to be having an unboxing of a MacBook Pro here live on the show. Luke Larson's going to join us. So before that, though, let's talk about Amazon and the Amazon Go stores. So this is something that Amazon's been working on for a while. They've already have about 21 of them are out in the marketplaces right now. We've got Seattle has them, London has them, a few other places around the US. But they are looking to rapidly expand these stores. Now the Amazon Go store is the idea. You walk in, it's cashierless. There are no cashiers. You walk in, you pick things off of the shelf, you scan your Amazon Prime password or your Amazon Prime account when you walk in, and then it just registers what you pick up, and then you just walk right back out the door, and your account gets charged. They want to work towards this goal of a cashierless society, essentially, when it comes to these stores. They've got convenience stores right now, but they want to go into big grocery stores and turn those into that. How do you feel about these?
I mean, I think it's super convenient.
Yeah.
I think I can imagine that being really helpful. I've never been in one before, but I think it's hard to not look at that and not be like, yeah, that does kind of feel like the future, you know, of grocery stores. But
right. Yeah, I mean, for myself, I am a fan of the cashierless line, with the self-checkout line.
Yeah.
I like that because the other problem, though, with the self-checkout, and if you listen to Trends with Benefits, Caleb and I have talked about this before, we do think that people need a license in order to run the self-checkout. If you haven't practiced it and you're not ready to pay, it defeats the purpose of the self-checkout line. So I'm a fan of this, where you don't even have to deal with that.
It's like an orientation you have to go through, get licensed.
And if you're not equipped and not functioning enough to handle the self-checkout, you got to go to the cashier. I mean, it's just simple. You're holding everybody up. Personal things. But this is what we're looking at there with Amazon Go. And they're also looking at licensing this technology to other stores, other operations. They're talking about airports. They talked about cinemas. So if you go to the movie theater, just have it in that way, which, yeah, I could see that being an easy way to handle that.
Yeah.
But yeah, different ways that we could bring in this idea of this cashierless.
I remember like Apple's had something like this in their Apple stores for a long time, where you can just kind of grab something off the shelf and they just give you your Apple ID and it does it like that. You don't have to scan anything. So, but I mean that's a very small scale. Like you don't go in there very often and buy things. So it's like But this could be a massive something you
rollout.
might do on a weekly basis, So
yeah, they're testing a supermarket right now in Capitol Hill in Seattle. It's a 10,400 square foot market that is going to be part of that. So check that out, and you can read more about it at digitaltrends.com. All right, let's continue on here. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back. Luke is going to bring in a box. In that box is a computer, and we're going to open it. So that's going to be happening right now. We've got a lot of tech happening. We're broadcasting live. We can take your comments and questions as we go throughout the show. But if you have questions about the MacBook Pro, the new one, we have it. That's what we're going to take a look at, and drop those questions in. We'll be back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. And anyway, so the MacBook Pro is something that I'm very excited about.
Apollo 11, your go for separation.
TV is making history again. The groundbreaking Samsung QLED 8K.
Welcome back to Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler. Thank you for joining us. We're broadcasting live. You can drop in your comments as we go throughout the show, or questions if you have that about what we're talking about. And this has certainly been something that a lot of people were excited about, is the 16-inch MacBook Pro, the brand new one. Luke Larson is here. We're going to unbox one right now, live here on the show.
Yep, the old 16-inch MacBook Pro, long awaited.
Long awaited.
Long
yeah, this is something that you were anticipating or hoping for a long time, right?
Yeah, and didn't think I was going to get it this year, really, to be honest.
Didn't think it was going to happen in your lifetime. Yeah,
and then
but there it is. They came through.
Yeah, so let's get this out of here.
All right, so this is, and again, for these unboxings, this is exactly how it looks. We have not opened this. This is how it would show up. And the boxing's always something, the presentation of laptops is something I appreciate. I've especially come to appreciate since we've been doing these on the show.
Yeah.
Like, there's a whole art form to this.
Yeah, and Apple is, they're the king of the box,
right,
and the presentation of it.
Yeah, I mean, and that's important. I mean, it just looks like something you want.
Yes.
Like looking at, I mean, the way they present it is definitely top of the line.
Yes, they even have this little plastic. It's always a struggle to get the shrink wrap off.
Right.
Look at this little
they figured
flap
that
there.
Smart.
You just pull on it, and you're
That is something that should have been invented a long time ago. I feel like that is strange that that's the first time we're seeing that.
Yeah.
For some item.
Innovation.
Innovation.
Things are moving forward.
Hey.
All right.
All right.
So
here it is.
The box.
The 16-inch MacBook Pro. Let us know if you have questions. We'll walk through some of the specs as well as while we're doing it. But
this is a hefty box. A real hefty box.
Wow, that is. That's a sturdy box.
That's what you pay the big bucks for.
It is
with
indeed.
Apple.
Yeah. No, that's nice. That's
Yeah.
a collector's edition box right there. Wow. There it is. Take a look here as we. All right.
So 16-inch MacBook Pro. This takes the place of the 15-inch MacBook Pro. Mm-hmm. So that's no longer something that's sold, and it's similar in size and in just look.
Yeah.
This is not like if you've seen a recent MacBook Pro. This is not.
Right. It's not that dissimilar to what you're going to see normally.
But it is quite different, and there's a lot of new changes about it. So let's just get this open.
Okay. And then we'll take a look at what else is in the box too here in a minute.
Oh yeah. Actually, let's just do that now. I think we've got a charger, which is of course USB-C.
Yep.
And laptops this size aren't typically powered just by USB-C. This is one of the few that is a powerful laptop that actually does USB-C.
How fast does it charge via that?
I don't know.
Well, I guess we don't know.
Head, yeah.
We have to test that out.
But it is quite an achievement that a powerful laptop can actually just fully be charged by USB-C. Anyways, here we go. MacBook Pro.
Through. This is exactly how it would be if you were getting this at home and setting it up.
And one of the first things you get is Siri trying to say hi.
It's already talking to you. What to do.
But there's the 16-inch screen, which is a big deal. Bezels are smaller on the sides, which is nice. It's been a long time since we've gotten some kind of an update in terms of that.
Yeah.
It looks a little bit more modern. But again, sitting next to a 15-inch MacBook Pro is going to be pretty similar in size. A little bit taller, but similar in size. So that's what you should expect.
Okay.
Other than that, like the body of it, it's a little heavier. I think it's just 0.3 pounds heavier, something like that.
It's hefty.
It's a hefty guy, a little thicker than the 15-inch MacBook Pro.
So he's going to be talking to us.
One thing I just used there is the physical escape key.
And that's something that was missing, right?
That is something that was removed from the past 3 years of MacBook Pros. But with this one, a big thing is the new keyboard. Physical escape key is something that people complained a lot about. that is back. Another thing that's back is the this arrangement of the arrow keys. Little thing, but it kind of a callback to 2015 era MacBook Pros. But the keyboard itself is the big deal. As we've talked about extensively, these keyboards in the past few years of MacBook Pros have just been a huge issue for Apple and for just the daily person who like buys a MacBook Pro and then has a keyboard that doesn't work, a key that stops working. They try to bring it in, they can't fix it, you know.
And it's one of those things with Apple where, you know, they really do. They design amazing products. I mean, we all know that.
Yeah.
But that's something that was such a sticking point for so many people.
It really was.
And when you have that experience, that's what you're actually physically touching all the time. It may seem like, a keyboard, who cares? But yeah, it really is an issue.
It's your main experience with the device, you know.
And if it's frustrating to type on it, then
and when you pay $2,500 for a laptop, you don't want the keyboard to just like, you know, fail on you. So this is it's a new keyboard, but it is kind of going back to the old style. It uses a different switch that is a little more standard. It's called a scissor switch, and the feel of it, I've got to type on a different unit a little bit, and I really like the feel of this keyboard. It's not like those super thin travel ones like the other MacBook Pros, but it does have some of the. It's a little more clicky than your typical keyboard. So
clicky.
I really like this keyboard. I think everybody's going to really enjoy this. It's like a familiar keyboard that everyone's going to be comfortable with. So.
And I'm noticing too the speakers. I mean, those are some pretty big speakers.
Yeah, and I'm really excited to try these out. So the 15-inch MacBook Pro always had a good set of speakers. They always looked like this, but this is an upgrade over the previous model. So it's kind of like the best. These were already some of the best speakers on a laptop you could get, and the idea that they're even better is really.
I'm kind of interested to know how many people still actually use their speakers regularly.
Yeah.
Not just pair them with some headphones.
Yeah, I do all the time still.
Really?
But I don't know if I'm normal.
just on, you know, commuting things that everybody has to listen to what you're watching.
Just at home, I use them all the time.
No, that's yeah. But I mean, if you're gonna pay this, you know, you want top of the line.
Totally.
That's definitely something.
Yeah.
Something important.
And the price is important because when this thing was being rumored, because of these extra features and, you know, what we thought it was going to be like, we thought this was going to be a more expensive version of the 15-inch MacBook Pro. So the fact that this replaces it and it comes in at the same price as it used to be, you know, that's good for everyone.
That's a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. But this is, you know, an expensive laptop.
It is. It starts at $2,499, I believe, or maybe it's $2,400. And then obviously scales up from there quite a bit because you've got options for what this has is a Core i9, 8 cores, which is a super powerful processor. These have new graphics cards as well from AMD. You can even get, we talked about this on the show before, but you can get up to 64 gigabytes of RAM. You can get 8 terabytes of SSD storage.
8 terabytes. That's still just so mind-boggling to me. 8 terabytes of storage on this. Which that gets it up to about that $6,000 level. And I've seen a lot of people posting where like it's $6,000 for this new laptop, which, for that very top
for
line.
8 terabytes.
That's not the entry point.
Right.
I think there's been some confusion for some people I've seen posting anyway about that.
Yeah.
Ooh, I like that. That's Audition with some hotkeys. Now I'm definitely interested in that.
Yeah, so that's the touch bar at the top, which is kind of famous on this guy.
Right.
It is important though, the storage, because this isn't a laptop you can go in and swap things out. You can't do really anything on your own. You can't add storage or add RAM or anything like that. What you pay for in your initial purchase is what you get. So there's no expansion like older Mac.
So so that's it. That's
why it's important that you save up all your money. If you're gonna buy this thing, make sure you get the version that you actually want, especially in terms of storage and RAM. Because there's no upgrading. There's no upgrading. So
wow, that's a big commitment.
It is. Right. It is. Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta make sure that you get it right.
I think people have known that about Apple for a while. That's their thing now.
That's how they do it. Yeah.
But I can't wait to really test this out because, in a lot of ways, this is going back to a lot of the things that people love about the MacBook Pro. So, whether or not that will deliver on that, we wait and see. But it's pretty promising. I'll say that.
Well, it's awesome, and then this is what we get to do here on the show is unbox these things. Luke brings in these awesome computers. We get to see what it's like and get that experience of what it's like, and we've got reviews up, right?
We don't have the full review up this quite yet, but we've got a number of stories up already. You can check out about the 16-inch MacBook Pro.
Cool, awesome. Well, Luke, thank you so much.
Yeah.
As always. All right. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. This is Digital Trends Live. We're broadcasting live. We have a number of amazing guests that are going to be joining us and a lot of topics to cover here on the show, as we always do. Next, though, we have Drew Prindle who's going to join us to talk about Starlink, all of those satellites that are going up to 30,000, I believe. Well, there's, I think, 120 so far, and astronomers are already not very happy about it. So what is the effect going to have when it comes to astronomy and our telescopes and what we can find out about space? Well, we're going to cover a lot of that coming up next. And we're live. We can take your comments, your questions, so drop those in wherever you're watching. Back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live.
Apollo 11, your go for separation.
TV is making history again. The groundbreaking Samsung QLED 8K.
Welcome back to Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler. Thanks for joining us. Again, hit that subscribe button wherever you're watching. That way you get the notifications when we go live. And today we have with us Mr. Drew Prindle. Hello, Drew.
What up?
We're going to talk about astronomy and space, and in particular this whole thing that's going on with Starlink, this idea of space internet that we may even be getting some of it next year, from what I understand. But it takes a lot of satellites to do that, and it turns out that's an issue for people. Can you give us a recap on, just for everybody, of what Starlink is?
Yeah, so Starlink is SpaceX's plan to basically blanket the Earth in like free, reliable, I don't know if it's actually gonna be free, but just like broadband internet all over the globe with no like ground-based infrastructure. They're gonna deliver it from a huge network of satellites.
Which in theory, I mean, could be tremendous, because there's so many parts of the globe, and I think a lot of people forget about this, that don't have broadband access. This would mean you could have broadband access anywhere, in theory, anywhere on Earth, which could open up all kinds of economic opportunities, just information opportunities. I mean, there's so much that could happen with that, and that part of it's cool.
Yeah, so there's like all these huge potential upsides.
Right.
But then the deeper we get into this and the more satellites he launches, the more we realize, oh, there might be some unforeseen like problems that are popping up. And the one that you hear about the most is space junk.
Yeah.
Right now, everybody's really worried because you see those animations. I think we've probably got one, but where the satellites are just whizzing past each other in this crazy like lattice formation, and you're like, if one of those crashes, it's going to just mess up all the rest of them, and then we're going to be trapped under this giant umbrella of space junk, and we won't be able to launch stuff.
Right, because even just a tiny little piece going thousands of miles an hour.
It has like the inertia of like a freight train, basically.
Right, could knock a hole in the space station or something.
Yeah, and that's a big issue. But one of the issues, the other issue that we just put up an article about on Digital Trends is about what this is doing to astronomy. The last time that they launched a bunch of satellites, the astronomical community kind of got up in arms because they were like, you're messing up our telescopes and everything, because when you put a bunch of satellites in the air, it's basically a bunch of tiny little like mirrors that are reflecting stuff. And like you and I, to the naked eye, we're not going to really notice that. But if you've got like a telescope that's like designed to take in as much light as possible, it's going to pick up on those little flecks of light.
Right.
Especially when astronomers are taking like long exposures of like really distant, faint galaxies and stars and stuff like that. And these satellites are messing that up. And so, they got up in arms at the last launch, and then this most recent one, I think a lot more of them kind of jumped on board and were like, listen, we need to do something about this, because it is like if they succeed in their goal and they get like 30,000 satellites in the night sky, it really might bring about the death of like ground-based astronomy.
Which that's I mean, a huge thing to think about. I mean, right now there's 120 of them that they've launched.
Yeah.
And that's in addition to all the other satellites that are out there. But that's 120, and it's already causing issues. 30,000 satellites. So what are some of the ramifications of that? If ground-based astronomy were to not be happening, what would that mean?
So, like, initially when we reached out to the astronomer guy that we talked to, like, we thought, as people who are not astrophysicists, we're like, whatever, what's so special about, like, ground-based astronomy? Why can't we just have, like, more Hubble telescopes and, like, orbital space telescopes?
Right.
And the reason that doesn't make sense is because, A, there are way more ground-based telescope arrays and just observation places than there are space telescopes. And that's because they cost way less, and we can build them bigger and make them more sophisticated on the ground. So in order to take our observational capabilities that we currently have on the ground and reproduce them in space, it would cost billions upon billions of dollars, because you can't put something the size of a ground-based observatory up in space. You have to shrink it down, you have to develop it, you have to get it in space in the first place. So there are just so many huge hurdles. So basically, if we remove ground-based observation from the equation, we're not going to get it back.
Yeah, and that's it. Because I mean, once you put those up, there's like kind of a demonstration. I know there was a picture.
Yeah, all the streaks in the sky.
Yeah, showcasing all those streaks, just screwing up that footage. I mean, if you think about earlier, I can't remember if it was earlier this year, I believe it was, where we had the array of ground-based telescopes that took that picture of the black hole.
Yeah.
The first time. But that was a huge amalgamation of all of these different ground-based telescopes. So in theory, all those would be wiped out.
Yeah, I mean, like, not necessarily wiped out.
Well,
I'm sure there would still be, like, ways to do it, but it's just going to be way more difficult.
Far more difficult. Well, what are the solutions? What is Starlink proposed anything, or have they had any response?
No, I don't think they're too concerned with this right now, because their goal is to, get this network up so that they can blanket the Earth in broadband internet. That's their goal, which is a good goal to have, right? Like,
right.
Can't fault them for that. But they're not the ones thinking about the ramifications of it. I think this is going to fall on the shoulders of, like, governments.
Yeah.
And not just any one particular government. I mean, obviously it's a US-based company, but, like, it's a problem that affects, like, the whole globe. It affects satellites and telescopes, like, everywhere.
Yeah, which is, I mean, and the thing is, Starlink's not even the only one.
No.
There's other companies that, Amazon's talked about it, Blue Origin's talked about it, OneWeb, I think, is wanting to do it, or anyway, it's a UK-based organization. So if everybody starts doing it, that's even more than just the 30,000. We're talking, 50,000 satellites, we'll say, or something like that. I mean, that's a lot of satellites to be concerned with.
So basically, that's kind of what this article that we just published is all about. It's like, we should really start making some rules about this before the problem gets out of hand.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the same thing you hear when people talk about space junk. It's like, these are problems that are real and pose like an existential threat to either astronomy or just our ability to put stuff up in orbit. So
right, if there's that many, I mean, just even navigating that, to get into space, I mean, that's a huge issue.
So really, we should start being proactive about this and like making rules and making sure we don't just screw up everything in the future.
That's something that humanity has never done before, which is not.
It's a tall order.
In the future. So yeah, we'll have to see where that goes. But I mean, I'm looking forward to reading that article. So that's up today.
It's up on the site right now.
Up on the site right now. So take a look at that and let us know what you think. I mean, it's again, it's like Drew said, it's something that we need to think about. It may not be an issue quite yet, but the ramifications are enough that the commercial space industry is just advancing so quickly that we do need to get some rules in place and some understanding of what the ramifications are if it's not in check.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, you can check that out at digitaltrends.com. Take a look there and let us know what you think about that. And we always keep you up to date on everything going on in tech, but definitely on space and the commercial space industry. We have so many articles on that. Drew, thank you, as always.
It's always a
for
pleasure.
Bringing us up to date on that. And we're going to bring you up to date on a lot more. We're going to take a break here. We're going to be coming back with more Digital Trends Live. We're going to actually be heading to our New York studio. We've got a great interview coming up, so stick around back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live.
separation.
TV is making history again. The groundbreaking Samsung QLED 8K.
Welcome back to Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler. Thanks for joining us. I'm here in our Portland, Oregon studio, and as always, we want to keep you up to date on technology and hot topics that are going on right now in tech, and definitely password security, our cyber security. That is a huge, huge issue right now, and no matter whether it's a company or whether it's an individual, something that we all need to be concerned with. And right now, we're going to be heading to our New York studio where our editor-in-chief, Jeremy Kaplan, is standing by with Darren Guccione, who's the CEO and co-founder of Keeper Security, to talk about those issues and more. Jeremy, I hand it off to you. Take it away.
Thank you and good morning. Yes, we're here to talk about cybersecurity and issues that you're going to face this holiday season, especially Black Friday, Cyber Monday, right around the corner. What can you do to protect yourself? What sort of risks are out there that you should be aware of? I don't have the answers, but fortunately, Darren Guccione does. Thank you very much for joining us, sir.
You're welcome.
So, top level question, are we looking at more problems this year than in the years past? Or do we see that there are issues that people are facing?
Absolutely. So this year for the holiday season, you're going to see an elevated number of cyber attacks. Phishing scams, gift card scams, and the like.
Yeah, you were telling me about this gift card scam before. Maybe walk our readers through what that, or our viewers through what exactly that is.
Sure. So you'll get an email. Let's say you're the CEO of a company. You get an email from someone
I'm
that...
the CEO of a company? Yeah, I got a promotion. You heard it right.
So you get an email from someone that works with you, and it says, you know, I received an email from you. I'm at, CVS, and they get an email. It's not you, but they think it is, and they say, go to CVS and buy $1,000 of gift cards. And when you get them, scratch the numbers off and email them back to me. I need to buy something for a very important customer immediately. So that person, because they trust you and they follow your directive, they run the CVS, they send back the numbers for the cards, and they don't realize that you're not you. You're actually a cyber criminal. So that's a very popular scam that's happening right now.
And really, just a really low-tech scam also. Just the
super low-tech
stuff.
Super low-tech. So standard phishing, it's not just about getting login credentials, but now it's targeting, go get some gift cards and give me the codes. And you think you're doing the right thing, but you don't realize that in the email address itself, it says your name, but if you actually look at the from address, it's clearly not your email account.
I feel like people should know better than to click on this. I feel like I should know better than to click on this. And yet people always fall for these things.
Yep,
and it doesn't take many, right? It takes 2, 3, 4 people out of the 10 million that get a phishing scam for it to be profitable.
Yeah, and it's very profitable, and they're earning billions of dollars off of these types of scams. It's not just on the card side, but on the wire side, right? The prepaid Visa cards is a big one. So look out for that. And there's several other tips we can cover too for the holidays.
You sent me some facts from the Ponemon Institute, which is a research facility covering the cybersecurity industry.
Absolutely.
72% of retailers have experienced an attack in their lifetime. 61% of retailers experienced a cyber attack in the past 12 months. 50% of retailers don't have a response plan. It feels like businesses and consumers should be more aware of this problem at this point, shouldn't they?
Absolutely. And it's growing. It's not like it's shrinking or it's consistent. It's growing. They're low-hanging fruit for cyber criminals because they know that most of the time it deals with passwords and stolen passwords and passwords that are simply too weak and reused on multiple websites and applications. So they just go after, droves of different individuals on the consumer side, and then of course the retailers on the commerce side.
Of course, and passwords, of course, that's where Keeper Security comes in, right? Why don't you walk everyone through what you guys are up to?
Yeah, so Keeper, at Keeper we make a leading password security product. It's a vault that runs on every smartphone, tablet, and computer. It generates high-strength random passwords for all your websites and applications, so that you're not reusing weak passwords. You're using a high-strength, unique password for every single website that you shop on. And it's very safe. And then we bolster it with two-factor authentication, which is an additional security method that's used to make sure that you are who you say you are. So it helps prevent what we call a remote data breach by a third party. So it's very powerful.
So there's one very clear reason that people reuse passwords, and it's something we'll call friction, right? The challenge of creating a new password, the challenge of memorizing it, writing it down on a piece of paper if that's what you do. It just feels like a lot to keep in mind. So this is just one simple way to avoid that kind of thing.
Yeah, and it's beautiful because you don't have to remember any of your passwords, and it's actually faster. So for example, when I want to access my Amazon account, I just go into my Keeper Vault, I go to the Amazon record, I click the URL, it auto logs me in within seconds, and there's nothing for me to think about. I'm in, I'm secure, I'm ready to shop, I do my business, I log out, and I move on.
So I mentioned the word friction because one of the challenges I think password managers like Keeper face, the challenge of initially setting things up. Can you walk through what that's like? Because copying and pasting these strings of alphanumeric, it feels kind of challenging in itself.
So the good news is that we've made onboarding really simple. So most people tend to store passwords in their browser. So the first thing that Keeper is going to do when you install the software, it's going to grab and identify all of those passwords that are stored unsecurely, by the way, in your browser, and they're going to pull them into the vault, remove them from the browser, pull them directly into the Keeper Vault to generate all of those initial records. Then when you're onboarding, there's a highly curated, very simple onboarding process to get you well on your way, so that the most common websites are already dictionaried in the system itself. So that setting up what we call your Keeper records is really painless and fast.
And then there's just this one master password that you really have to memorize, and I don't think it's asking too much of people, right? One thing you have to remember, otherwise, and if you forget it, are you out of luck?
Yeah, well, we have a zero-knowledge security model, meaning without with very little difficulty, you can contact support and go through a self-service process to restore your account. So if you forget your master password, we have a beautiful recovery process to help you along and solve that problem. So that's on the technology side. And I would say, too, on the biometric side, most devices today, whether it's Android or iPhone or even Windows devices, they support, either retina or fingerprint scan. And so you can utilize that technology in our product as well and log in, with your fingerprint within seconds.
So we started out by saying that there were a lot of scams and hustles that people are going to face this holiday shopping season. Anything people should watch out for as Black Friday rolls around? They're scrambling to find deals. Are there things that can alert them that there might be a scam out there?
Yeah, like first of all, when you're surfing and you're connected, avoid public Wi-Fi hotspots, especially ones that are free. Connect through your device. You have a personal hotspot on your phone. Those are way more secure. Use that.
That's a great point.
If you're in a public setting. Then when you're on the web, make sure that the websites that you're going to are HTTPS protected. That means Hypertext Transfer Protocol over Secure Socket Layer. Fancy, right? It just means that everything that you're doing is encrypted. You're in a secure connection, and the information that's being sent back and forth between you, your terminal, and that website is also encrypted. So that's really important. And then be vigilant, avoid and be aware of the phishing email scams, right? Those sales that seem a little odd to you, things that are 90% off. You go to a website and you look at the actual website address and you think it's supposed to say, let's say, ebay.com, and the URL is really odd, and eBay winds up being at the very end of it.
Yeah.
There's a problem.
Exactly.
So, it's always about trust and verify. Shop where you typically shop, and make sure, again, that you're using, really strong connectivity to get onto the web. And when you're on these websites, look for that HTTPS connection.
Some good tips, thank you. So one last question for you, if I could, Darren. It feels like we've been facing the same challenges for years. It doesn't even feel like some of the challenges are evolving. The thing about the phishing scam, for example, we're always going to have phishing scams, right? Do you think that we're getting ahead of the criminals out there, or is it just are we just going to be in this constant race to keep pace with these guys? Is there any way to beat the battle, to win the battle?
Well, I'm not a pessimist or a protagonist, so I would say it's getting better slowly. On the education side, it's getting better.
Yeah.
The problem is that the rate of education in the public domain versus the rate of technology and advancement and pervasiveness of cyber criminals, they're two different vectors. The cyber criminals are advancing at a faster pace, and that's the problem. So we have to continue to become more aware, more vigilant, and more engaged in a cybersecurity mindset. It has to start with that. And, I think if you take a look at the technologies that are out there today, they've gotten really easy to use. They don't make you just more secure, but they make you more productive. They make you actually transact faster online, where traditionally security tends to be an inverse path to productivity. They fight each other. The good solutions out there, whether it's Keeper or many of the others that we see in other industries, they're unifying convenience and security. So that's what we work really hard to do at our company.
You heard it here. There's going to be challenges this holiday, and the solution is up to you. Go to keepersecurity.com. You can download this software, and it will make things a lot better. I don't want to hear anybody using password as their password ever again. That means you. No passwords as passwords. Darren Guccione, thank you very much for joining us.
You're welcome.
We got lots more tech coming up after this short break. Please do stick around.
Apollo 11, your go for separation.
TV is making history again. The groundbreaking Samsung QLED 8K.
And welcome back to Digital Trends Live. Thanks for joining us. We broadcast live here every weekday, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern. So hit that subscribe button and get the update when we do go live. And we like to talk about technology, and we like to keep you updated on things that are going to affect you. And with Black Friday and Cyber Monday coming up, we're all going to be doing a lot of shopping. But when you check out, you see those notifications sometimes to get that extended warranty or get that extra coverage. We're going to talk about that and trends and more. Joining us right now, we have Woodrow Levin, the CEO and founder of Extend. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Greg. Thanks for having me.
So I want to give everybody just a walkthrough on what Extend is, if you can tell us that.
Yeah, absolutely. So Extend is an API-first solution that allows any merchant to offer extended warranties and protection plans on the products they sell. So think of us as Apple Care for everything. Not dissimilar from what Affirm and Bread and Klarna have done for consumer point-of-sale financing, we're doing for extended warranties and protection plans.
So if you think about it, like when you're buying something from, Best Buy, for example, and it's like, you want to get this extended warranty on this, you get the 2 years coverage, you can do that for pretty much any company.
Exactly. So the top 1% of merchants today, Greg, all offer extended warranties and protection plans. And that's Best Buy, Costco, Wayfair, Amazon, and more. We've probably all seen them. Mm-hmm. The problem is that 99% of the market was completely unattached. And consumers weren't getting that peace of mind that they get when they can add an extended warranty at checkout.
So just to walk through this side before we talk about just the general trend of shopping and everything going on with that. So there's a small business, they make some special custom headphones. They come to you and say, we want to do an extended warranty. How do they do that? What's that process like?
So we work with insurance companies on the back end who actually underwrite the risk. You can think of Extend as the technology-enabled broker as well as the administrator. We were fortunate to acquire a business from Aon, the $43 billion insurance broker recently, where we became a fully authorized administrator. So we control the customer experience from start to finish. That's the unique thing about Extend is we're making sure that it's a digitally native customer experience for extended warranties. It's never been seen before.
So it basically democratizes that use of that these big, huge companies are able to do now. Everybody can do it.
Absolutely. It really levels the playing field because it allows the smaller merchants or the direct-to-consumer merchants, which are extremely popular over the holidays, to increase their margin on each sale, as well as give customers more peace of mind. Because when you know that there's a third party standing behind that product, if something does go wrong, they're more likely to buy.
How is the general feeling in the marketplace, and what's some of the feedback that you've gotten about extended warranties? Because I know sometimes people are like, "Oh no, it's just it's a ripoff. You're spending too much money on that. You don't need that." And that's something people say depending on what it is. How do you respond to that?
Yeah, so we hear that, and that's one of the reasons that we did start Extend. Is the customer experience around extended warranties today is broken. They're full of gotchas. You have to have a copy of your paper receipt. I don't know when the last time I've saved one of those was. You actually have to call in for a claim. We don't use the telephone to make a phone call to make a dinner reservation or call a taxi. So why should I not be able to text in a claim and do it just digitally? So I agree with the people who have said extended warranties need to be modernized and improved, and that's what we're focused on.
Well, being involved in so many different facets of retail, and especially, particularly online retail, with Black Friday coming up, Cyber Monday happening, we're seeing so much reporting on it already, and particularly in the tech industry. I mean, we're definitely on top of it here at Digital Trends. What are some of the trends that you're seeing from your end when it comes to that, as far as what shopping trends people that you're noticing?
Yes, sir. So I'm really seeing three, and I think you hit on the first one. It's almost like the pre Black Friday sale. You're seeing merchants get out of this way earlier than we've ever seen before. It's sort of like your neighbor who puts out the Christmas lights right after the end of May. So getting customers to make that purchasing decision earlier is what a lot of merchants are trying to do. The second thing that I'm seeing is a lot of companies that sell direct to consumer as well as through Amazon and other third-party sites are creating limited edition or bespoke products that are only available at their website. So this is to get customers to come directly to them so they can establish that one-to-one relationship. And last but certainly not least, we're seeing AR and VR start to play a role in holiday purchasing. Peloton, the cycling and treadmill company, has an amazing feature on their mobile website. You don't even need to download an app. We'll actually show you in your room where the bike or the treadmill will fit. I just think it's super innovative and will help people in their purchasing journey.
That's really interesting. I want to touch on just a couple of things that you just brought up there. So talking about how we're seeing this pre-sale, and it seems like every year it just starts earlier and earlier and earlier. It's like when we start seeing Christmas commercials in September or whatever. Now this Black Friday, Cyber Monday thing is just extended so far. Where do you see that going? Like say next year, the year after that? Is it just going to be one giant Black Friday 6 months, or where are we heading with that?
I mean, everyone loves a good deal.
Right.
So when we see that, I think that merchants are always going to use it as the lead in to get customers to their site, no matter when we see it. I think it's going to continue to be popular. They'll come up with different names for it, the merchants will. Maybe we'll have a pre-Black Friday sale that's official. But I think that trend will just continue to permeate online commerce.
And you mentioned AR and VR being a big thing that's being incorporated in now, and I find that very fascinating just to see that technology expand. And we've talked a lot about augmented reality and some different ways it's being utilized. You mentioned Peloton. What are some of the other ways maybe that you're seeing it being incorporated in, or that you could see retailers doing?
Absolutely. So, I mean, with sunglasses, you see it a lot too. You can virtually put on a pair of sunglasses and see how they look on your face, because again, that's something that you probably do want to try on before you buy. There's a company called Untuck It, which you actually put your phone down, you spin around, and it measures your body so that the shirt can be perfectly fit to you. So again, with the advent of the extremely strong processors in our mobile phone and the powerful cameras that we have, I don't think we're going to see more and more of the ability to create that in-person shopping experience online.
Well, going back to talking about these trends, we've been talking about some of the big ones, Amazon and Walmart. It's certainly a huge player in this, Best Buy, big companies like that. What are some of these smaller companies doing? Obviously, being able to extend warranties is huge. What are some other ways that they're competing with some of these huge chains?
So, I mean, obviously, being able to offer extended warranties to increase their margin on each sale, as well as give customers peace of mind when they purchase, is something that is very important. We've seen a 30% uptick in warranty attach rate as we've gotten closer to the holidays. So we're seeing a lot of consumers say, I don't just want to buy a gift that's consumer electronics, jewelry and watches, or sports and fitness equipment. I want to make sure that that gift is protected if it should turn into just a paperweight at some point. But one of the other huge trends that we can't ignore is $1.2 trillion has been spent this year in buy now, pay later. I mean, that's truly Affirm, Bright, Klarna, these companies have taken something that was, on the fringes, layaway, and made it almost sexy and something that why wouldn't you do?
That's interesting. So layaway is something that's on, I guess maybe it didn't ever really go away, but now something that's a prominent strategy.
Absolutely. It's modern. It's become cool. People are much more aware of their finances these days. People are renting instead of buying. They're aware of interest rates and more. So I think we have a more educated consumer, and they're understanding the value of being able to purchase something at a 0% or even 1 or 2% APR.
Going back to the extended warranty side of things and going back to Extend itself, you're working with a lot of these smaller businesses, which really does, as we said in the beginning, help democratize that process and give customers a satisfaction, some more revenue for the businesses themselves. Where do you see that going as you make this just an easier process going forward? How are you incorporating more technology into that to make that an easier process?
Yeah, so we initially started off by building a Shopify app. So any merchant on Shopify can plug into us. We quickly understood that some of the larger merchants doing 200, 300, 400, even $1 billion or more in revenue, wanted to do direct API integrations. It's easier for us to do a direct API integration than it is a Shopify integration, just because of all the themes that happen on Shopify. That being said, we do have a Magento cartridge, as well as a Salesforce Commerce cartridge as well. So we're going across all of the e-commerce platforms where you can integrate once, touch many, as well as direct integrations with larger merchants. And I mean, today we touch over $12 billion in annualized sales.
Looking at some of the products that people would do, I mean, physical products do make sense. You talk about, like we mentioned, headphones or a television or something like that. What are some of the more interesting products that people maybe could get extended warranties for or protection plans that they're not thinking about of right now?
So jewelry and watches, it's really interesting. If you buy a luxury watch, you obviously, you're making a big investment there. And for 10 to 15% of that purchase price, you can make sure that that watch is protected if something should happen. What's really interesting is there's a extended warranty and protection plan program called accidental damage and handling. And that means if my 17-month-old son takes my one more headphones and throws them in the toilet, which has obviously never happened, that I would get those headphones back for free. So it protects against sort of human fallibility. It's not just your old school extending the length of time of the manufacturer's warranty, protects against human error as well.
Nice. That is something that I would definitely be interested in. I've never dropped a phone or shattered anything. Ever. Well, Drew, I want to say thank you so much for joining us to talk about this. And for people who want to get involved with the company, what's the best place I can send them?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Greg. And just extend.com. We're super fortunate we were able to purchase extend.com. So we're not Hello Extend anymore. And extend.com, they can find out more about the company. We're hiring a lot of people right now and sort of in hyper growth mode. So excited to spend some time with you today. Thank you.
Nice. Thanks so much for joining us here on Digital Trends Live.
Take care.
All right, so really interesting talking about that, as we go forward with our shopping experiences, different ways to accent that and extended warranties, protection plans. Certainly, we've all dropped something now and then. So this could actually be a huge benefit to a lot of people. But really interesting stuff, and that's what we do here at Digital Trends. We bring you interviews with all kinds of tech innovations and leaders. And right now, we're going to take a break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about some more tech. We've got some trending stories I want to bring you up to date on, including a new form of alternative energy, or at least an advancement in it that we've never seen before. This was just released. Really exciting stuff. All that more coming up on Digital Trends Live.
Apollo 11, your go for separation.
TV is making history again. The groundbreaking Samsung QLED 8K.
Welcome back to Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler. Thanks for joining us. And we have all kinds of tech that we cover here on Digital Trends. We're bringing you interviews. We've got more coming up. We're going to be heading to our New York studio shortly. But let me bring you up to date on some other trending tech topics right now. This one is huge, and it has to do with a company that's been in stealth mode that was just revealed. It's a Bill Gates-backed company called Heliogen, and they've done something pretty incredible for the very first time. And we're talking about solar energy. So solar power, obviously that's not the breakthrough just in itself, but how much solar power we can concentrate into one specific point is what we're talking about. So for a long time, and there's other companies that have worked on this, of taking essentially a whole bunch of mirrors, pointing it towards one point, and then you're able to heat that up to an extremely hot temperature. And then you can use that to generate all kinds of power, and you can do it a lot more than just what a standard solar panel would be able to collect. Well, now this team was able to get a point up to 1,000 degrees Celsius, which is the first time that's ever happened. That is, essentially, you can get it up to roughly a quarter of what you'd find on the surface of the sun. That's how hot they were able to get this one point to. And once you're able to do that, there's a lot of big things that happen. So there's a key thing with 1,000 degrees Celsius. That is how hot you have to get things in order to make steel and cement. And that is a huge, huge use of energy when it comes to what we're doing worldwide. There's no shortage of demand for steel and cement, right? I mean, that's what we need to build everything. Well, now that we can get something up that hot, this is the first time that solar power has been able to do this. That means we're taking a renewable energy source instead of using coal, like we've had to do before, or oil, or anything else, and able to get it to that point to where we can make that. So if they're able to do that, they're estimating, and this is taking a look at some of the statistics that this company has said, that while cement right now accounts for 7% of global CO2 emissions. That is a huge amount. 7% is due just to cement. Think if you can take that out of the mix. If you could make this power and get something hot enough using solar power, you remove that. You remove that as a factor. Some of the other statistics that they were talking about, just bringing that up, that they're saying that if they can do this, they can make glass, cement, other industrial processes. Another big thing that they wanted to, they said that, here's what it is. These industries are responsible for more than a fifth of global emissions. So just to give you a little bit of a broader context there. The next thing they want to do, though, is to be able to, essentially, the long-term goal is to make hydrogen. So hydrogen, being pretty much emissionless when it comes to burning, when it comes to being used as a fuel. It's being utilized in California right now in some cars. I think Hawaii also has it. But this is the kind of like the golden goose, really, when it comes down to it, of making hydrogen and using renewable energy to make it would be tremendous. That's something that they could, in theory, be able to do. And they said that this is what they're going for. So taking a look at one of their spokespeople, he said, if you could make hydrogen that's green, that's a game changer. Long term, we want to be the green hydrogen company. So big announcement, huge when it comes to that. And again, this company is called Heliogen. And this is a Bill Gates-backed fund. Bill Gates backs a lot of different companies that are trying to work to attack, whether it's climate change or medical industry. So he's got a lot of funds that go out there, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. This is one of the companies that Bill Gates is backing, just coming out of that stealth plan. So we don't even know everything that they've been working on, but we do know this. And again, that's Heliogen. Really fascinating use. There's a lot more that I'm sure is going to be coming out about it, about the technology. But you can read about that at digitaltrends.com. All right, continue on with some other trending stories here, some other topics to cover. Let's talk about using artificial intelligence to uncover things right in front of our eyes. Now, here on the show, we've discussed the use of LiDAR before. LiDAR, we actually talked about that a few times recently, how LiDAR is being able to use to scan the surface of the globe. You can discover things that weren't there before based on topography and different ways that we're able to see, like, say, a city that was hidden, an ancient city that was hidden in the jungle that you would never find just by on the ground looking. This is something you'd be able to see through the sky with this new technology. Well, utilizing some of that kind of technology and extrapolating with artificial intelligence is what's being done right now in Peru, and it just uncovered a glyph that was previously unknown. So these were scientists actually from Japan, from a university in Japan, Yamagata University, that we're using artificial intelligence to examine images that we had already seen. And they're doing this in coordination with IBM as well. And right there, so if you're just looking at that with the naked eye, sure, if we already know that's there, you could see it. But that's something that was previously undiscovered. It's a whole glyph in Peru. And if you don't know what the glyphs are in Peru, they're gigantic images that were created on the ground that you can only really see from the sky. How they were able to do that is pretty incredible. That's a whole other discussion on how the ancient Peruvians were able to do that. But we're finding out more and more of these. And so what they're going to be doing with that one that they discovered, and I think we've got another image of it too that we can take a look at, of what it is that they found. This is just one of them. Now, what this glyph means, what it implies, it's hard to say. Again, that's kind of showcasing some more of that, some more ideas of more glyphs that you can see only really from the sky. And just how they were able to do those things. Again, still kind of a mystery. But this is geoglyph number 143 is one of the ones that they discovered. And what they're going to be doing now with this technology is taking 10 years of data, 10 years of aerial imagery just in this Nazca Desert and analyzing that to see what else they can bring out. And that's all due to artificial intelligence. It's another really interesting use case of it as we see more and more AI algorithms being applied to different things, different fields of study. These are the kind of things that we're going to find. And that's a great use of it. There's no way a human, maybe if you spent hours and hours and hours of your lifetime going over that, maybe you would be able to pick something out like that. But this AI could pick it out just like that. And we'll have to see what other kinds of things we can discover with all the data that we already have just by running it through artificial intelligence algorithms and seeing what we come up with. But that's a really cool use case right there. Again, that's a study from Japan in coordination with IBM, and they're going to be going through all of those, that desert imagery to see what else they can find. Really cool. You can read more about that at digitaltrends.com. All right, one final thing here before we go to a break. We've got some more interviews coming up for you. We've actually got a really great one. I'm going to tell you about it here in just a second. Before that, though, let's talk about some crazy robots. So this is what we have today coming from Berkeley. And we see a lot of our robotic stories are actually coming from universities where they're doing different studies. You have companies like Boston Dynamics, but places like Berkeley and MIT, they're definitely at the forefront of this. So this is from Berkeley's hybrid robotics program. What we're looking at right there is kind of an ostrich-looking robot juggling a ball on its headless body. So that's actually what's happening. So there's a few things here that are pretty important when we're looking at this video, and then I've got another one I'm going to show here in just a minute. So it's bouncing up and down and bouncing that ball on there. This is important for a few reasons. And the way it's working is it's actually using an external camera, that's the only thing external on it, to watch itself and watch that ball bounce up and down. The bigger picture of what it's doing is it's multitasking several different things at the same time. And that's the key. That's the key to the future of robotics, to be able to handle multiple inputs, multiple stimuli, multiple things that are going on, and to manage them effectively. So you have this robot that's able to bounce this ball up and down. They're working on it to where it can bounce too, but it keeps the ball on that platform while balancing on its legs. Pretty incredible. Now they're studying that. They're also studying different things with this particular robot. And by the way, I forgot, how dare I forget to give you the name of the robot. It's Cassie Cow. Cassie Cow is the name of that robot. So here we go. This is another instance of humans messing with robots where somewhere down the line this is going to be bad for humans. But what they're trying to do is just throw it off balance. So they put it on a pallet and then shake it up and see how much they can keep that robot on its feet to see how long that'll last. Again, someday that's in the archives of humanity. Robots will showcase this to see how terrible we were. But that's what they're doing. They're trying to train it in order to balance in different environments, multitask. Pretty cool use of technology, and that's happening at Berkeley, so you can check that out at digitaltrends.com. All right, let's do this. We're going to take a break. So I'm Greg Nibbler here in our Portland, Oregon studio. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back. We're going to head to New York. We've got Jeremy Kaplan standing by again with Sylvia Acevedo, who is the CEO of Girl Scouts of the USA, also a former rocket scientist, also a former executive at Apple. Pretty nice resume there that Sylvia has. So she's going to be talking about this because it's Women's Entrepreneurship Day, and we're going to be talking about some studies that came out and talking about what the Girl Scouts are doing with that. So really excited to have her on the show. All that's coming up, so stick around. Back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live.
Apollo 11, your go for separation.
TV is making history again. The groundbreaking Samsung QLED 8K.
Welcome back to Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler. Thank you for joining us. Hit that subscribe button wherever you're at. That way you get the notifications when we do go live. And yesterday was Women's Entrepreneurship Day. Huge day. Very important things that were happening with that. And there was a really big study that came out in association with it. We're going to be talking about that now. And our next guest is a former rocket scientist, a former executive at Apple, and now the CEO of Girl Scouts of the USA. It's Sylvia Acevedo, who is in our New York studio, standing by with our editor-in-chief, Jeremy Kaplan. I cannot wait to hear what you're going to be talking about, and we have a lot to cover with this. But Jeremy, I'm going to hand it off to you. Take it away.
Thanks, Greg. Yeah, pleasure to be here. As you're saying, we have a very amazing guest here, a badass guest, if I could say. Look, we have talked to presidential candidates. We have talked to ghost hunters. We have talked to companies that make robots that will make drinks for you. Nobody am I more excited about than talking with Sylvia Acevedo.
Oh, thank you so much, Jeremy. It's a real pleasure to be here.
Thank you for joining us. You're the CEO of Girl Scouts of the USA.
Yes, I am the proud CEO of Girl Scouts of the USA.
And you have the most interesting background of any. You are not who I would expect to be the CEO of the Girl Scouts, let's just say.
Yeah, you know, because of Girl Scouts, when I was a young girl, it fostered my interest in science and math, and so much so that I got so much confidence and competence in it, I became an engineer, and then I became a rocket scientist working at NASA's Jet Propulsion Labs. And I worked on 2 missions, the Voyager 2 mission and the Solar Probe mission.
That's amazing.
And then I pivoted. I went to Stanford University right in the middle of technology, the internet age really taking off, and so I had a great tech career. And then I was an entrepreneur. Me and 3 engineers got together and sold a company, put a company together, sold it. Before then I started to give back and volunteer at the Girl Scouts, and now I'm the CEO.
I wish I had a tenth of your gumption, and all of that is amazing. I also just got my first ever Girl Scouts badge from Sylvia. Could we do a tight shot on this and show this off? Which shows off some of her history and the path that she
Yes, the
followed.
stars that helped me understand that there were constellations and planets up there. The rocket, which I made an Estes rocket to earn my science badge. And then that's not a cookie on my badge. It's actually the planet Jupiter because I worked on the Voyager 2 mission.
Of course.
And then it's got my favorite math symbols, sigma, infinity, and pi.
Pi's a great one.
Yeah, it is. And I'm just so excited to be here because of Girl Scouts, it changed my life. And one of the big things was not only being in STEM, but also an entrepreneur, that great cookie program. And we yesterday released our new Research Institute report from the Girl Scouts Research Institute about an entrepreneurial study. And it's today's girls, tomorrow's entrepreneurs.
So tell me about the study. What have you guys learned?
So the good news is girls, more than half of the girls are interested in being an entrepreneur. And if you're in Girl Scouts, 91% of them are really interested in being an entrepreneur. I think that has to do with our great cookie program. So that's fantastic. But there was also a little bit of disappointment. A third of the girls that were studied said that they really see some gender things holding them back. And, you know, at Girl Scouts, we really want to make sure girls have the interest, the confidence, and the competence. Obviously, our cookie program. But it's not just the physical cookies, it's also the digital cookies. We have such great STEM backgrounds and STEM programs. And the world right now is being remade around technology, line by line, code by code.
Absolutely.
And we want to make sure that tomorrow's entrepreneurs are girls that see the business opportunity and have the technology skills to be able to craft solutions for tomorrow's problems.
I think about scouting programs like yours as a way to teach the skills that kids need to get ahead in life these days. And so that's definitely made a huge pivot from things one needed 80 years ago, STEM being a huge part of that, of course.
You're absolutely right. You know, we're so proud of being Scouts. You know, we are the Girl Scouts, really focused on the girl. And we know that sometimes in our workforce, we kind of double down on what worked for boys and thinking that it will be the same thing that works for girls. But our research tells us over and over, if you have a solution that girls like, they begin to have the interest, the confidence, and then the competence. And that's one of the reasons we have so much great success with our alums. Almost half of the women up in space, more than half, were Girl Scouts.
Oh, that's
in fact,
great.
the 2 women who recently did a spacewalk, they were both Girl Scouts.
Of course they were.
I know.
Why wouldn't
so
they be? Of course they were.
We have continued to be trailblazers and entrepreneurs as well. So more than half of America's businesswomen were Girl Scouts. And so we know that our iconic cookie program gives them entrepreneurial skills, but also the other things that you were talking about that are so important, the leadership, the project management, the collaboration, those skills that you need, not just in business, but in life.
In life.
They're also getting those skills in today's Girl Scouts.
So I just have some facts here I wanted to roll out. So May 2017, you directed the largest rollout of merit badges in nearly a decade. 39 of the new 47 offerings are STEM, including weather pattern analysis, space science, robotics, and cybersecurity. I love that. Talk to me about cybersecurity, because that's not something I think about as learning in a scouting program.
Well, so, you know, I really see it as, we think about it as a defense issue, but if you think about it, so many people shop at a Target or Home Depot, and then they get the postcard saying, oops, you know, your identity or your financial information may have been compromised. So suddenly it is an American pocketbook issue across America. And so we heard that from our girls. They said, we have a digital device in our hands. We want to learn how to be safe. We don't just want to learn how to program it. And wow, were we amazed at the reception. In our first year alone, over 90,000 cybersecurity badges were earned.
First year.
First year. And not just in urban areas like New York or San Francisco, in Hawaii, in rural Alabama, in the deserts of New Mexico.
Amazing.
And so we were providing skills that they weren't getting in any other area, any other way. And the girls told us we want more. So we now have programs all the way from age 5 all the way to 18. And they learn incredible things. So how many of us have a car that has a key fob that so electronically you can, you know, easily open your door and start your car?
Of course.
Well, there are people who figured out how to do relays so that they take your Wi-Fi, your communications link, and start your car without that key fob. So we teach girls, how do you protect yourself against those things?
That's fantastic.
We also teach girls, and I can always know when a girl has done some programs in whatever area of the country, because I'll get notices from parents and they'll say, oh, my daughter came home from earning her cyber badge and she asked us, what is our Wi-Fi protocol passwords for our home devices? But we also teach girls in Girl Scouts, it's not just learning the skill, they have to take action. The other wonderful thing that I'm learning with our cybersecurity rollout is they go to community centers, like senior centers, and they're teaching them. I've heard from senior centers, they didn't know they didn't have Wi-Fi protection. Think about people who brought their laptops, could have lost all their information.
Oh, yeah.
Or
We always warn people not to use public Wi-Fi, but that seems like a safe place.
I know, and think about maybe not knowing how to put protections on your phones. Those are the kind of things that we're teaching girls, as well as so many other robotics and STEM and life skills. We haven't forgotten about the outdoors as well. But all of those help those girls with the entrepreneurship skills. They have the technical skills, the entrepreneurship skills, the business, the life skills, so they'll be able to create the new businesses of the future and really close that STEM workforce gap that we're experiencing in America today.
That's remarkable. We talk a lot about STEM and the need for education in schools, but here's just another venue where we can provide that kind of education for students, for girls today.
Yeah, and what our research show also, that if you create the program in a way that interests girls, she will develop the interest, the confidence, and then the competence to maintain that interest. So, you know, I'd love to give the example of how we teach malware to girls that are brownies, 7- and 8-year-olds. So instead of talking...
Which is information, by the way, that 40-year-olds don't actually have.
Well,
so
yeah.
Everyone needs to be trained about something.
Yeah, about how do you pass malware. So what happens is you can talk about the 7-level protocol stack in communications, and the first level is the physical. Or we're talking to 7- and 8-year-old girls. We get them to sit in a circle and talk. They love to do that. Get a ball of yarn. They pass the ball of yarn as they talk to one another. And then we show them that's a physical network. And then in addition to that, if one girl on the network had a virus, that's how the virus spread. Suddenly you get the concept like that in a way that you say, I know how to do this. I've got the interest, the confidence, and now I'll work on the competence.
And you were saying before, it's also about, yes, we need to instill some of these skills in people, in girls at a very young age, but also just those life skills about when to put down the digital device and how to find the right balance in your own life.
You know, it's absolutely the case. You know, as the world is being recreated by technology, line by line, code by code, we also need to have people who say, you know, enough already. We're not just human doings, we're human beings. And we can do this. We can use technology to aid how we collaborate, connect, communicate. But it does not get away from that wonderful person experience, the leadership, the collaboration, the empathy, the social emotional parts of our life that make us human beings. And we at Girl Scouts make sure that that's part of all of our programming because we want that whole girl.
Well, it's just fantastic. I think you're doing some wonderful stuff. One of the challenges we also see here is how to take this conversation that's being started in the Girl Scouts of the USA and bring it outside of Girl Scouts so that the entire culture gets a little bit transformed. Because I've talked at length with VCs on this particular show here, where they say, well, this is great. We just tend to look more towards the boys who are starting these or starting up new companies. And yeah, I know that there are women out there that are starting interesting companies, but we're probably going to lean. How do we educate society as a whole such that we know that there are women that are doing some great things, just as many as there are men, probably more? How do we educate society so that everyone gets the message?
So, you know, it's so important. And one of the things that our study really showed, and again, it's available free online at Girl Scouts Research Institute, is, you know, a third of the girls really do feel like there's that gender bias that you mentioned. And so for us, it's really teaching them about not just having the interest in confidence, the competence, that you can do it, and to have those kind of other skills that we were talking about that are so important as well. So it's not just knowing how to technically code and how to solve a problem, but how do you sell it? How do you frame it in terms of being a solution? And when you're talking to venture capitalists, how do you help mostly him see how he's going to make a lot more money doing that? So helping them.
That's a great skill to teach.
Yes, and so really help them understand that it isn't just solving the problem. And that's one of the things at Girl Scouts is we have this what we call take action. When you earn the badge, one of the final steps is you have to take action. So when they're learning, for example, we talked about the cyber skills, you've got to go somewhere and make something happen with it. And what I love about in cyber in particular, we have a girl in the agricultural area in California. She's learned the cyber skills. But she knows that tractors and combines don't even have steering wheels anymore because they're controlled by the Internet of Things.
Of course.
And so the problem she's trying to solve is what happens to the Internet of Things, what happens to our food supply when the Internet of Things goes down, and what happens to the sustainability.
That's a great
question. So that's a
question.
problem she's trying to solve. Once she solves it, now she's going to have a business, and how does she sell that to the venture capitalists? We want her to not just be able to solve the problem from a cyber, but also have the poise, the business skills, the savvy, the entrepreneurship. And within the cookie program, that's how we design it. It's not just selling, it's also what are your goals, the decisions you have to make, what's the good customer service. Those are all embedded in the cookie program.
I need to join the Girl Scouts, clearly. This sounds phenomenal. That's all the time we have right now.
Thank you so much, Jeremy.
It's been an absolute delight talking to you. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, you bet. Thank you, Jeremy.
When we come back, I had a great chance last week to talk to the guy at Google who heads up their smart speaker programs. We'll be bringing you that interview in just a few minutes. Please do stick around. We'll be back right after this short break.
Apollo 11, your go for separation.
TV is making history again. The groundbreaking Samsung QLED 8K.
Hey, Jeremy Kaplan at the first IoTC Next conference. We're talking about the Internet of Things, how everything gets unified and connected. In particular, we're talking about smart speakers. You've got one, everyone's got one. They've taken the world by storm, but are you getting the most out of them? To find out, we've got Mark Spates, who's the head of smart speakers at Google. Mark, thanks for joining us.
Oh, thanks, Jeremy. I'm excited to be here.
So, do you think we're getting the most out of them? I was saying we're not. I think you're on the same board here with me.
Yeah, I think we've done a good job of establishing some core use cases, things like playing music, alarms and timers, but one thing that our team is thinking about a lot is how do we make the devices kind of disappear into the background and really start to focus on those core use cases that someone's trying to solve in their home. And so a question that we started asking one another, and it's a really funny question, like, do you have good Wi-Fi at home? And of course, everyone says no. So when you start to say, well, how do we solve that problem? That's where things like Nest Wi-Fi, it's not about building a product, it's like, how do we solve this core problem that people have at home, which is connectivity through the home? And then the next logical thing we said, well, if you have to place these everywhere, it'd be cool if we put the Google Assistant in there. So we have that extra value add on top of the problem that we're solving for the user.
So it's obviously about a lot more than the speaker, but the power of these things gets really unlocked when you have several of them, right? Or is one sufficient?
You know, one is sufficient, I think, for some of the basic core things you need to do every day. And I think it's a great place to start. But you're right, once you start to combine it with other devices, and that device even can be your phone. A great use case that I see tons of people do is that you're able to make a call home. So you're on your phone, you're on the way home, and you can send a broadcast message, or you can say like, hey, what do you guys want for dinner? And that's just like two devices, which is your phone and a speaker. But if you have 2 speakers or 3 speakers, which there have very accessible price points, which is great, you can have this whole home audio solution. So now you're playing like great jazz throughout the house, and you're controlling it from your phone or with your voice, which is really unique.
One of the things that strikes me is the challenge of discoverability. When you've got something that's a speaker, it's very obvious that it's a speaker, right? But encouraging people to explore the range of features that you guys have built in because of the power of AI, because of that assistant, how do we do that? And is that on you guys, or is that consumers need to spend more time with their devices to figure out what they read the manual? Maybe it is on consumers to figure it out.
No, that's totally on us. And I think there's a few layers to it. I think the first layer, once again, we have to get away from marketing devices. And if you can help people understand what problem they're trying to solve, then what are the 1 or 2 things that help you solve that problem? So one example that I give a lot is if I'm a new parent, right? One core thing you want to do is think about how you're going to set up baby monitoring. Well, a great solution that we have to that is get a Nest camera and get a Nest hub. It's a really good solution to a baby monitor, but also allows you to see the schedule for the baby on the hub. Also, you can start to think about, playing videos or playing music and lullabies. So I think there's these use cases where the user is trying to solve a problem, and we have to be more thoughtful about positioning our products that way. Not about get a camera or get a hub. It's like become a better parent.
So there's this duality between the smart speaker and the smartphone, I think. And a lot of people thought for a while the smartphone was going to be the interface to your home, your connected life, etc. And it feels like voice is really taking over. Is that what you think? Is that the future, or is it going to be a merger of all of these things?
Yeah, I think it's both. I don't think one will overtake the other. But you're right, voice has this communal nature to it. And also the interface, we've been doing it since we were extremely young. And so what's amazing to me is like my younger cousins as well as my grandmother can all use this device, and we don't have to teach them many things, right? They can just start speaking to it. So the fact that you have this communal interface and this communal experience, as well as still being able to take your personal device and get into the Instagram or whatever other apps that you want to look at, I think they will play well together. And we have to make sure they play well together because the homes are personal and communal. They're not one or the other.
It's about more than just voice, though, right? These devices can detect things that are happening around us, footsteps, breaking glass, etc. What does that mean? What does that spell for the future of smart speakers? Or is there a different path to the future?
Well, I think some of the features that you just highlighted are features that are really about things like Nest Aware. And once again, the problem, don't worry about the devices you have. What you want to do is have peace of mind that your home's okay. And so we had a lot of users that had Nest Aware for their cameras. And the next logical thing we said, man, there's a crossover of people who have Nest cameras, Nest Aware, and some of our smart speakers. How do we make that Nest Aware service even better? And that's where things like sound sensing come in. But I think you'll see that in multiple places. Communications is another one where we said, there's a lot of homes that have a couple of smart speakers. What would communication look like in a smart speaker world? Yeah. And so we started to do things like dual calling and intercom and broadcast, stuff that you probably would build in your house in the 70s. Now we're just like, no, you can do it in this little Nest Mini, which is really cool.
I love the emphasis on connectivity and communication. That seems like a feature that people don't do enough of with their smart devices. And that's also gets past the privacy concerns a lot of people have. You're just placing a call.
That's
Don't
right.
fret about who's got that data.
That's right.
But are you guys really worried about privacy and data, especially as we talk about devices being unified and data from various places being shared?
Oh, 100%. It's one of our core focuses. To that point, we actually introduced something called our privacy principles. And so you can go onto our website and you can read them, because it's extremely important that we're very transparent and thoughtful, because we're coming into our users' home and they're inviting us in. And to be invited in, we need to be a great guest. And so we need to be very thoughtful about the way that we approach privacy. And we're trying to be as transparent as possible.
So one last question, any thoughts about the future of these devices? Are we just going to see more of them or more functionality?
Yeah, I think one, you'll start to see a lot more of the conversation being around the problems that they solve, not just the device. I think that's one thing that's going to be interesting. Secondly, I think you'll start to see more of these things working together in a more fluid way. Like, so this use case I talked about when it comes to parenting or communications or whole home audio. And then I think the last is you're going to be interested to see how the phone starts to become a part of this use case and these journeys that the user has at home, because it's amazing to me that we haven't started to connect those things yet, but it seems natural.
All right, there we go. Thank you to Jeremy Kaplan. We have a lot of coverage of the IoTC at digitaltrends.com, so it's really fascinating to take a look at the future of smart homes and just Internet of Things technology and where it's going to be going. Check all that out at Digital Trends, just like all the news we talked about today on the show. But let's talk about tomorrow on Digital Trends Live. Senior editor Caleb Dennison will walk us through our ultimate gaming setup, from a top-of-the-line Samsung Q90R 4K television to which console is our favorite, and even a gaming chair you might be just a little too comfortable sitting in. So that'll be tomorrow. We've got YouTube tech guru John Rediger, who will be here in studio with me to discuss what's on the horizon for 5G connectivity in 2020, and how Qualcomm's Snapdragon processors are powering network transformation. And we'll have Brandon Webb, the co-founder and CEO of a streaming service called SoftRep, the Special Operations Forces Report. Webb's a former U.S. Navy SEAL and best-selling author, and he'll be joining editor-in-chief Jeremy Kaplan in our New York studio to discuss video streaming platforms and how SoftRep is differentiating itself from bigger services like Disney+, Hulu, and Netflix. All that, and of course, the breaking technology news of the day right here on Digital Trends Live. Please subscribe and join us wherever you consume content. We go live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern. And for Digital Trends Live, I'm Greg Nibbler, and I'll see you right here tomorrow.